Case in point, every 3 months you're going to get a revenge story. It's a simple little, I know, genre. Revenge stories work. They're functional. If you're trapped of what you want to write about, revenge stories. But here, this is a revenge story that's kind of deceiving. It's not as simple as we think it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was going to be like nonverbal. Is H. John Benjamin narrating my life as well? No,
he should. He should walk around narrating my interview dialogue. So let's talk about Boy Kills World.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for finding us. Thanks for watching. For our loyal fans, thank you for continuing to support the show. Yes, we do have a Patreon. Check that out. Kyle and I are both members of the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. Check out that webpage for critics' reviews as well as ours. And today we're talking about it's not giving a lot of advertisement. The advertisement's kind of coming out but it's not really bombastic advertisement to the movie. It's Boy Kills World.
Yeah. When our protagonist was a child, he witnessed the death of his family at the hands of the Vanderkoy family. Raised by a shaman, he's become a finely tuned machine of vengeance who teams up with a few other unusual freedom fighters to finally take down the Vanderkoys once and for all.
I really, really love this movie. I don't know if you about how just impulse reaction to this right away, but I really thoroughly enjoy this movie. Does not quit. There's no quit in this movie. There's no chill in this movie. It's a constant flow of an adrenaline. It's overabundance of unhingement. It's surreal. It's a lot of things. It's very weird, but it's also very simple too.
Yeah. We're seeing a big change here because I think we're seeing a lot more of these like action stunt people that are getting into directing, and that's what we have here. It's more the director who brought his concept with a short film to Sam Raimi and Roy Lee, in an effort to kind of fund his feature idea. The style is off the charts. I love the style of this movie.
Yeah.
And you can make the argument that it is more style than substance. It absolutely is. It's a standard revenge fantasy film.
There's 5 major plot holes into this.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care.
Well, and I still think, kind of similar to, I'll make the comparison, my big flaw with the film in that it's similar to Abigail, where I think for 80% of the movie, I was all in. I was digging the heck out of it. I don't like the finale fight scene. There's a bit of a twist and turn and realize who our final boss is. I didn't really understand the necessity of that scene. I didn't really get the fight itself, and it's one of those fights again where they're throwing people back and forth.
The ending feels like is oh, we wrapped up a little too early. We have a week with this studio. Okay, well,
but when Roger Corman did that, he just filmed a whole nother movie. The finale fight sequence itself felt a little underwhelming because I just didn't really buy into the necessity of
After we've been going overly crazy, it feels like you have to do overly crazy at the end, where if you did a soft whisper at the end, I think you get more attraction. But I understand the temperament, the feeling of the people we've gone crazy, let's go overly crazy with it.
Yeah, so that's my one. That's the one sequence that I think dragged down the movie for me. But everything else going through it, I really, really enjoyed.
Because we've seen it.
That's the thing, though, is because I think there was the intentional idea that we have to create a twist, we have to create a turn so that people are interested in the story. To be honest, I don't care about the story. The story to me just was very much I'm going to go out and get my vengeance. I don't need that. There's a great movie from the not a great movie, called Shoot 'Em Up. From the mid-2000s, Clive Owen kills a guy with a carrot. It's just over-the-top silly action. The story of that movie is completely stupid and garbage. That's not the point of that movie. So
no, that's not the point of this movie.
Yeah.
I love, we've seen training montages. This is fun. This is fast cuts. I love the cutting. The best thing about this movie, other than the stunts are fantastic. Sound really kicks into it. It is edited almost meticulously fantastic sound department. I don't know if Sam Raimi's you have to work on sound to get this.
Well, you can see a lot of Evil Dead sound in this movie. The kind of jarring, deliberate sound that really takes you and kind of switches the film around.
There's a lot of times you don't see it, but your brain fills it in.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a lot of gore that you see, but the sound is probably the things I can encapsulate more other than Bill's jacket.
Yeah. Well, I was really taken with the language of the film because we have a main character who does not speak, who is nonverbal, but he has the inner monologue. I love the juxtaposition of Bill Skarsgård, who is literally jacked in this movie. I didn't think he could be as fit as his brother was in The Northman, but he does a pretty convincing argument. Yeah. And then to have H. John Benjamin, who's known for comedies like
it's
Archer
a weird combination,
and Bob's Burgers, and he voices a can of peas in Wet Hot American Summer, and he's voicing this character. And I love the the explanation for that, in that he doesn't remember his own voice anymore. So instead, he takes the voice of his favorite video game. I thought that was a brilliant subversion of the traditional idea.
It's very much Double Dragon.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the right temperament, the right speed. I came in 5 minutes after the movie started. I kind of timed the trailers wrong. I thought I'm going to catch it right.
And that's why I don't do that anymore.
I catch it right on. And it's like, okay, this showing was this, and I got about 5 minutes more trailers, and I missed the first 5 minutes. I love the kid. It's a little bit of Lone Wolf and Cub. We got his, this imaginary.
Yeah, it's imaginary cub.
Imaginary cub, and it's a little bit. It does the right comedy temperament. It doesn't go jokey comedy, but it's almost a comedy that we laugh, but the people inside the story don't think it's funny.
Yeah.
But we're witnessing it, and we think it's funny. The guy who thinks he's a poet. I love the conversation with the family dynamic of the Vanderhoes, that the bad guys, they're structured. They hate themselves.
They hate each other. The one of Brett Gelman's character seemingly wants the family to be toppled. Yeah. And he's kind of funny because we've gotten used to Brett Gelman appearing in like Stranger Things as Murray, and then he's here and he's kind of playing a similar version of it, but he's a bigger asshole somehow than he ever could be. But he does want to see the family pay for their crimes.
Yeah.
And I find that very interesting. I mean, again, like the twists and turns of the narrative, I kind of guessed pretty early on in the film. But I think this is where the strong performance is. It's a tremendous cast in this movie.
It's character driven. Story doesn't make sense.
Yep.
And I'm like, there's 5 different plot holes that I got right away from first viewing. It doesn't bother me. If you're going to critique plot holes, then But I love the characters. Even Melanie is sinister, but you understand why she's sinister, because she thinks she has to be the glue to the whole family is unhinged, that she has to be menacing about this.
Yeah, exactly. And she plays kind of a similar version of her character from The Gentleman, Michelle Dockery.
Yeah.
Which is a far cry from her take on Downton Abbey for 6 years. But she is kind of like, it's nice to see her when she does go to that nth degree, that extremism, because I think a lot of viewers would have been familiar with her being on this, upstairs, downstairs kind of a drama.
Yeah.
But I think Bill Skarsgård will not get enough credit for this, but deserves enough credit for this in the sense that he is non-verbal throughout the entire film. Sure, he's got the inner monologue, but it's it's that combination of those two, because like when he tries the macarons, disguised as a chef, that scene could come off as too stupid to be funny. Yeah. But it's in his
the right
physical,
balance.
The way in which he like physically
you gotta act chefy.
When he tastes them. Yeah.
You gotta act chefy, right?
And I think this film does something with a cheese grater that I didn't think could be topped in Evil Dead Rise, but we get pretty darn close with it.
Right. I love it. Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of callbacks to other things, but not in a sense, because the style is so different and unique, it really kind of jumps on its own. It stands up there.
I know the elevator thing is very much like Cabin in the Woods. Let's open the curtains and see who's behind it. To get the montage of just armed guards. I think the whole premise of there's a single thread theme throughout this whole movie. I think I caught it. Maybe if you guys think I'm kind of going off tangent. I think the whole point of the story is things going off script and how you can handle it without a plan. Everybody goes off the teleprompter, and then it goes off script, and things get worse. You have the boy who wants a revenge, and the plan goes off, but then he comes. But everything is almost like, if things go off script, how do you handle that? Especially the boy's trauma. His whole arc is everything is the borderline is this is a revenge story, but it's scripted, unscripted.
Yeah, the film is very much kind of the polar opposite of the A-Team's Hannibal. We love when a plan falls apart.
Especially when we talk about villains that are over-elaborate plans that went perfectly to a T, and I'm talking like Joker with the Dark Knight or something. This whole premise is, what if everything doesn't work?
Yeah.
Including the structure of like how we present television, and it goes,
Yeah, and I mean, there's standouts. Like I love the scene where they're planning how they're going to get in and break in, because I think Andrew Koji, who plays Basho, he was in like a Fast and the Furious film. He's in Bullet Train. He's able to handle a good amount.
He has
of, like,
one emotion,
physical insanity, but also he does comedy pretty well here too. And I think one of the biggest surprise standouts is Isaiah Mustafa. He plays Benny. For those of you that have seen It Chapter 2, he was in that film, but he's also the Old Spice guy. And he's the one who our main character can't understand what he's saying because he speaks so quick.
Doja buns.
Yeah, and I think
Doja.
using that in a visual sense was really funny, and I thought that joke was going to get old and it didn't. And whenever he showed back up again, I thought it was funny again.
Is it
And I
because
thought that's
John
where
H.
that level-
Benjamin's delivering him?
It's his interpretation of it, but then Isaiah Mustafa's ability to actually like verbally make it look like he's saying something else while he's saying what we're hearing.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was a brilliant kind of piece of comedy that again, a lot of the stuff in this film I thought was going to get old long before it did. And I was surprised by that. You know, coming back to the shaman character, we've got Yayan Ruhian. So if you guys are fans of the Raid movies, he's in both of the Raid films, and he is excellent in all the action scenes he's in. He plays two different characters because they killed off his character in the first one. Yeah, very limited vocal.
Very limited. Yeah.
But I think, you know, the idea of the shaman itself and like this mythical figure that everyone's hunting for and the one that he's kind of been training with, he does a solid job of kind of that Pai Mei character, that Obi-Wan character that's been training him, is that we don't feel the necessity that he's ripping off something that's very cliche because of the performance.
It's very fresh. You have this the female villain who wears her helmet, and I love it. It's this very Japanese kind of like she's speaking the dialogue that you get an anime on her visor. I do like the action. It's silly. All of a sudden you have like a little scratch thing in the necklace, and
I think the way that drones are used in the action was really incredible because I think I liked some of what Michael Bay had been doing with Ambulance, that recent film that he did. He used a lot of drone footage in the action pieces there, but he didn't really take full effect of it. It kind of felt like you knew you were watching a drone footage in that film. In this film, you kind of forget that that's what you're doing because we had a lot of those, you know, there's those drone guys in the Twin Cities here who were doing like the Bryant Lake Bowl video where they like circles around
down
in there.
Minneapolis.
And that's how it felt. It felt like even though I knew I was watching drone footage, that I was a part of the fight. I was in the fight. I wasn't just watching it take place, but I was a member of it. And I think that matched that kind of tonal insanity that they're going for, especially when you have Chekhov's pirate mascot. Sooner or later, he's gonna have to show up in the film.
Right. Serial mascot fighting. And it's a little bit of network in that part, but not as much as Late Night with the Devil.
Maybe not the best double feature though for that.
No. But I think it's going to stay in my top 10 at mid-year in June. If I do my list in June, I think it's going to stay in there. It's so fresh. It's so simple revenge story. I think if you tell people that's about a kid that revenge on the people that kill his family, and that's going to do I really want to invest time? Yes. Yes.
I think if you're looking for an action film, it's probably the freshest one of the year that I've seen so far. It's the one that I think I'll be thinking of the action scenes for that film long after I forget the plot.
And it's shot like a horror movie. It's almost treated like a horror movie, but it's not. It's an action.
Yeah, and the ability to make a bloody mess into a comedy scene. Like this is something I wish this wouldn't have been in the trailer, but there's a scene where they're holding a person, like questioning a person by like threatening to drop something heavy on him. It's in the trailer, so even though I knew it was going to happen this way, I still thought it was funny because everybody knows it's what's going to happen. Yeah. But in the way in which it's executed is really fun. The way it's fresh.
If you hid that in the movie, not presented in the trailer, right, it would have been great.
Yeah, I think it would have been much better if had it been a surprise in the film. But it's right in the trailer, and it's like Yeah. I hate when trailers do it. I understand they have to sell the movie though, but
it's a solid movie. But Kyle and I agree. Little too much for the ending.
A little bit too much for the ending.
Especially when we know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but if you're asking me to nitpick, I would say things like, I don't know that I felt the world around the main character was particularly interesting. And that goes back to the story. I don't know that I found the villains as interesting as they could have been. There's a lot of ways in which I think the story could have been zhuzhed up to match that level of style. But overall, I really enjoyed the film. And even though, like I said, it probably went down about 20 minutes too long with that finale scene, I still recommend this one. Absolutely. Right. It's definitely a fun time.
Yeah. Hopefully you got the opportunity to see it. We highly recommend it. Boy Kills World. It premiered at the Toronto Film Festival last year and got rave reviews, and now it's got distribution. So hopefully you get to see it. See it in the theaters. Don't wait to rent it.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a more fun time in a large group. And this is one where you may not even mind the jerk that's sitting next to you that's eating popcorn really loudly because you're embracing that level of sound. So
right, yeah. And I think this is going to be. I think this will be a movie that people are going to select for others to react to. I was watching this this is totally a reaction kind of a movie, and I can see people.
Yeah, and I don't know that it's going to be one that's going to do particularly well. I don't know that the title and the marketing have really hit the way that they should. I feel like this is a movie that at the end of the year people will have,
and it has very strong list. Japanese flavor to it. Yeah, it feels like a foreign film.
Yeah.
So What do you think are our thoughts about Boy Kills World?
Yeah, let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below.
Yes!
What's your favorite recent insane action film that you think others might have missed? Let us know in the comment section. Maybe we'll cover it on a future episode of the show. Thank you guys for joining us so very much. You can check out all my film reviews over at goatfilmreviews.com.
What's that? Hey, you can catch me at SpringCon May 18th at Woodbury, Minnesota. Check that out webpage, Minnesota Comic Book Association.
And stay safe. Don't kill any worlds.